I'm PGA teaching professional Todd Kolb, Director of Instruction for US Golf TV and the Sanford Power Golf Academy. And today we're talking about the delivery position, the downswing. When the club has reached halfway down, when it's parallel to the ground, it's the time when we better be ready to go because that moment of truth is just about upon us. Now, when we're working on that downswing position, there's a couple key things I want to share with you today. Where the club should be. We're going to talk a little bit about the club face, the club shaft, maybe even a little bit about the body. But where do we want that position to be? Where do we want those things so we have the best opportunity at that moment of truth, at impact, to deliver that club exactly where we want it. So let's dive right into it. Now, I've got a couple lines here. I'm using my live view, and I've got a couple lines on my setup right here. So the first one I've got, as you'll see right there, I've got a blue line that's basically right along the shaft angle there. So you can see that. Now this is great. I love this line. We use it for a variety of different things. We've talked about it on takeaway. If you haven't seen those, check out our stuff on the takeaway. We've got some really good things. But that blue line is right along the shaft angle. Now I've also put in here a little circle. You'll see the red circle. Now that circle, as you can see, is just off my knees. All right, just off my knees and kind of right above my toe line. Now, that's going to be an integral part of this particular lesson that we're talking about. So, live view setup down the line, along the shaft angle, okay, blue line, red circle just off my kneecap, kind of right above my toe line. So now that we got things in place, let's talk about where we want that to be. So we're set up here. The first thing we're going to talk about is when that club comes down, when the club is basically right here, where the club shaft is parallel to the ground, right here, okay? That's the position that we're talking about. Now what I want you to do, first of all, is I want you to make sure when you come down that your hands, see my glove hand right there, is on that blue line. Okay, so I'm bringing it up, and I bring it right down here. I want those hands right along that blue line, because if my hands, the first thing we're going to talk about, are on that blue line, that's going to give me a good opportunity to get the club shaft, all right, and the club head in the right spot, which we're going to talk about in a second. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure your hands are working in the right direction. So this is a little drill I'll do. I'll get set up here, no club in my hands, just take it up, and I'll just bring my hands right along that blue line. See that? Specifically my right hand. Up, right hand along there. That's a great drill. So I love my live view because I've got it right there behind me. I can look at my mobile device right here, and I can just practice that hand movement. See right there? Now, if you're slicing the golf ball, odds are you're doing this. You're up, and where do you think your hands are going? They're going out there, right? They're going out. Okay? If you're maybe hitting big, high blocks or hooks, you could be doing the opposite. You're up there, and you're underneath it. See? And I'm mostly focusing on my trail hand, my right hand when I'm doing this. That's the hand I'm really watching. Okay? So once again, take it up, bring those hands down, right hand right along that blue line. Man, that's just a great position to be in. Okay, then I'll grab a club. I'm just going to do that again here now. Focusing on those hands, up, right back down. There's the hands. There's where I want them to track. Okay, so if I've got the hands moving in the right direction, now I've got a good chance to get the club shaft in the right spot. I'm going to talk a little bit about the club face because I think that's the most important thing. We're going to talk about that in a second here, but getting the club face oriented right is the most important thing. I'm going to talk about you in that circle that we're going to use in just a second. All right, so let's now talk about the actual club shaft itself. Where do we want that moving in that downswing position? So we're set in there, okay? All right, we've already talked about the hands, so I'm going to focus on the club shaft. So I want to feel like the shaft, okay, see that? See how that shaft angle is working just inside, just below that. Remember, this is our checkpoint right here, okay? Club shaft basically, right? Right in this position right here, that's the checkpoint we're talking about. I want that shaft angle to be slightly underneath that blue line, okay? See how that shaft is falling under that blue line. And if you forgot, remember that blue line is kind of along the shaft. That's your reference point, right? Now, slicing, hooking, what are we doing? What could we be doing? Well, you probably know where we're going with this because we talked about it a little bit with the hands already. So if I go up, okay, the shaft is probably above that, see? This is going to cause us to swing across our body, slicing, off the toe, you name it, really bad, just bad golf shots, right? For hooking it, especially if you're drop kicking it, meaning you're hitting behind it, okay, you could be up and you could be really far underneath it, okay? You might be really far underneath that. All right, and that will cause you to hit behind it and drop kick it. So that's the second thing I want you focusing on, the club shaft angle. So we've talked about the hands, specifically trail hand. It's probably my favorite drill right there. Then we added the club shaft. Okay, my hands are there, but yet the shaft is just slightly below it. Let's talk about the most important part, orientation or position of the club face, okay? And we're going to talk about this in two parts. Where it is relative to the hands, open, closed, you name it, all right? So let's talk about, first of all, where it is relative to the hands. Now you got to work with me on this, okay? Pay attention because this is probably the most important part I'm going to talk about. All right, so we're going to keep this as simple as possible. I take it up. We know where the hands are going, right? Right along that blue line, okay? The shaft is below, but notice where that club head is at right there. It's right in that circle. Okay, that's where I want that. So the club head is ever so slightly behind my hands. Okay, that's why that circle is over here by my toes and just off my knees. You'll notice I didn't put the circle out above the line, right? I put the circle below the blue line. Because if the club head is in here, okay, now it's going to swing to the right. I'm going to hit that beautiful high draw that we all love to see, right? Now, where might it be if you're slicing? Well, it might be, you're taking it off, okay? And more than likely that club head is out here. Not only is the club head above the blue line, but see, it's way away from that box. Or excuse me, it's way away from the red circle. It's out there actually towards the black box. All right? So that might be where you're slicing. Now if you're hooking, drop kicking it, pushing it, it could be underneath. Don't see that very often, but it could be. So let's review that, because this is an important part. Like I said, it's probably the most important stuff we're talking about here today. I'm up. I'm going to get that club head right there. Yeah, perfect. See where it's at relative to my hands? Just inside my hands. That's the perfect spot that I want it to be in. And as a quick reminder, and then we're going to talk about club face orientation, and then I'm going to give you the last tip I want to give you on this has to do for better players. If you're a single-digit handicapper, you want to stick around for that. Okay, but remember that red circle just off my knees, and right off my toe line there. All right, let's talk about club face. Where should the club face be, not only in terms of open, close, or square? So this is the next thing I'm going to look for. I take it up. I bring it down. I want that club face right there in that. There it is. Perfect position right there. But notice the angle of the club face. It's at this 45-degree angle. Now, if you watched my takeaway video at all, you're going to remember that spot because that was pretty popular. We talked a lot about that, right? If you're slicing, it's probably rotated open. See, like that. Dead open. That's going to cause you to slice. I guess you could get it really close and hook it. I don't see that very often. But typically, I want it to be right there. Okay, and that's why I love working with my live view, because we've just talked about a lot of stuff right there, but it's literally I got a line and I got a circle, and I've got my live view set up, and I'm just watching and rehearsing. Okay, so let me go through some of this here, and then we're going to talk about that specific thing for the single-digit handicapper. I'm set up here. Okay, I'm just going to work my hands up right there. All right, there's my hand movement. I grab the club. I set in there, okay, I take it up, feel the shaft underneath there. You notice the head just works right there naturally. I'll do a couple of those. I'm just going to hit one. Okay, man, that feels really good. And I can grab another ball. My template's already in place. All right, I match my shaft angle to the blue line. Here we go again. Let's do another rehearsal. There it is. There's my hands along the blue line. Club head along the circle. All right, that's it. Hit a shot. Perfect every single time. So that's the beauty of working with live view and having those couple reference points. Now, I promised you this. I want to talk about a common mistake that I see single-digit handicappers make, especially people who hit the golf ball a long ways. And that is, okay, this might be a little controversial, so I want you to really pay attention here, is that the club head is too high. Okay, this would be high, club head too high. All right, too long in the downswing. So the club head is too high, too long in the downswing. So let me show what I mean using my live view. I'm set up here, right? Here's my live view. Got that? Remember that? Remember where that? We put that red circle. When I come down, if my hands are tracking that blue line and the shaft in there, but see how that club head is still super high? It's way above that circle. This creates a lot of steep angle. Okay, and can create a lot of problems at impact, where we have to either stand up and flip it, which we see high handicappers do, or if that club head stays super high, coming down almost too much, lag, coming down, okay, good players will rotate hard and they'll hit a lot of shots off the heel. I've seen a lot of really good golfers hit shots off the heel, and that's why the club head is too high. They're holding, they're pulling the handle, there's too much lag, too long. Now, where should it be? Well, that's why the circle's where it's at. Notice when I come down, I want that club head to lower. So by the time it's in this position right here, the club shaft right here, okay, parallel to the ground, that club head is low, so I can just go ahead and rotate through. So in this simple setup, live view down the line, one line along the shaft, one red circle, we have covered all of the things that we need to work on when it comes to the downswing position. So if you do those couple things, it's going to help you start hitting better quality golf shots and hopefully enjoy this game a little bit more.